Hello everyone, B.O.R.G Dexter here, and in this video I will be reviewing the ALTERS, a game made by 11-bit studios of This War of Mine and the Frostpunk series fame. The ALTERS, while being an amalgamation of many games, manages to be a pretty fresh and interesting game. With a strong story and characters, this is a survival game with base building and expansion, with an interesting story and dialogue heavy at times, all wrapped up in a time-managing gameplay loop. It reminded me of Death Stranding and XCOM among other games at times, both games which I like. You take on the role of Jan Dolsky, a builder that embarked on the Dolly project mission to outer space, undertaken by Ally Corp. Your mission is to find if there really is a miraculous element known as rubidium and harvest it. Unfortunately, your mission goes belly up pretty fast, as you soon discover that you are the only person that survives the crash landing, and soon come upon the mobile base. Basically a big wheel with modules attached to it from the inside. After the initial shock, you contact Earth and are told to quickly move the base, because the planet's sun will come soon and vaporize everything. While struggling to gather the needed resources to move the base, you find a strange element and suspect it to be the famed rubidium, and after a short while it is confirmed to be true. Since your base is broken and Jan is just a builder, you will need to attempt to create a tech expert alter using rubidium to help with this technical problem with the base. From there on, you will have to manage your alters, resource harvesting, building and expanding your base, and the various mining outposts outside, and many more things, while trying to be rescued and bring back this amazing element named rubidium. Okay, so what are alters exactly? They are basically clones of Jan Dolsky, that are a product of his various potential versions that are created at pivotal moments of his life. Did he go to college to run away from an abusive father and a helpless mother? Did he stay home? How does he react to the death of important people to him? Does he pursue an intellectually challenging career path? Or does he decide to be a blue-collar worker that works really hard? How are his romantic relationships developing? All these decisions and branching paths lead to a multitude of potential versions of the same Jan Dolsky, and are presented very well in the quantum computer menu that you can access. All of these versions are provided with a description and story of their own, and I must say I always enjoyed reading about a specific version of Jan each time I unlocked a new alter. Some of the versions of Jan you can create using this miraculous element called rubidium, which causes rapid growth and development, are the following. A doctor that can heal your alters much faster using the infirmary, and that can cook food faster. The cooking is explained by his backstory and stems from his charity work. A technician that repairs broken base modules faster. A miner that mines resources more effectively. A shrink that can help improve the moods of the alters using a contemplation room module. A botanist that grows fresh food much faster. A scientist that does research of new technologies, etc. There are 10 types of alters in total, if I am not mistaken, with one being kind of a secret. I only ever had 6 alters in my playthrough. Keep in mind that each of these alters has their own personality, problems and attitudes, which makes the game much more interesting and will react to you and the situation they find themselves in differently. There is also the element of expanding the base and building various modules within it to satisfy the needs of your alters, like the gym, social room and the dormitory modules, and to create facilities that will facilitate the storage of gathered resources, produce necessary items for you and the crew, such as the workshop, the kitchen or greenhouse modules, while some modules are more unique and are required to be built to progress the story or have more of an auxiliary role, like the recycle module that produces organics from the waste of your alters, or the infirmary module that allows you to heal alters much faster and, in the case of heavy injury or irradiation, are needed, else your alters will die. As you progress, you will upgrade the base, allowing for more space to build modules in, as well as increasing the organics tank, which uses organics to drive the base to the next area of the game. I will now describe the gameplay loop of the game, and while doing that, we'll explain what you will be doing outside the base. As you leave the mobile base, you will be faced with the open area you are in and will need to explore it for deep resource deposits. These can be organics, metals, enriched metals, rubidium, or mineral deposits. You can also find shallow deposits that can be mined without any infrastructure, but these come with finite resources, so in the long run, you will need to establish mining outposts. Once you find a deep resource deposit, you will need to deploy polygonal scanners to discover the area where you can build a mining outpost, marked by red while scanning. After you scan and find a suitable area for a mining outpost, you need to place it there and use pylons to connect it to your base or to the already existing network of pylons you previously built while connecting other mining outposts to the base. Connecting these outposts to the base will provide them with power and a fast travel point. You can also recharge suit batteries at these outposts. Now you can either work these outposts yourself or assign an alter to work there. While traversing this planet, you will face obstacles like tall ledges, paths blocked by rocks. You will come upon energy gates that deplete all of your battery and block pylons you try to connect through it. Ledges can be scaled once you research and build a rock climber, but will deplete your battery reserves. The higher the ledge, the bigger the battery cost. Rock piles can be melted away using a portable drill with an available charge, and is often a great way to create shortcuts. The energy gates should be avoided, though you can research a way to make them power up, rather than deplete your batteries, but that comes much later in the game. Another danger to our involuntary mission captain are anomalies. These are basically the enemies in the game and come in various types. They can be destroyed using the illuminator that has to be researched and built first. It uses batteries to work, of course. The first anomalies are just static blobs that will irradiate you if you step into them. Then there are the more sinister ones that actively follow you around for a while. Some speed up time, while others make seeing and therefore navigating and exploring much more difficult. This would be the prism anomalies that distort your vision. All of these are destroyed by illuminating the red orbs at their core, though they all act differently. Basic anomalies have static cores, the more challenging ones can have fast-moving, restless cores that are difficult to lock on and kill. Anomalies also prevent you from placing mining outposts or scanning the area if the anomalies are located on deep deposit areas, and they almost always are, especially later in the game. I would highly suggest you upgrade the power and maybe even the range of your illuminator, and this is where planet sample resources come in. The planetary sample resource is a rare thing to find. You will need to find the starting point, marked on the map by a question mark once you discover them, and follow the plans that are revealed by your illuminator, and which most often lead through enemy-infested areas to a final point, which you will need to destroy to get the planetary sample. These are used for powerful economy, base, or illuminator upgrades. The best upgrades in the game require these resources, so I suggest you hunt them down wherever and whenever you find them. When you have decided that you are done with field work for the day, you retreat back to base where you can do some other work, like craft items in the workshop, grow raw food, or cook food, provided you have enough time. Right, time. Time is the biggest restrictive factor in the game. You will normally wake up at 7 AM, and if you try to do work after 8 PM, you will work much more slowly to the point that it isn't worth working past this time, save for extreme circumstances. If you try to go outside past 8 PM, you will need to face night radiation, limiting you in your effectiveness when exploring or constructing outside. Another effect of staying up late is that you will wake up later the day after, leaving you with less time to do work on that day. Also worth taking into account are magnetic storms that appear periodically and wreak havoc on your base, breaking down your modules, which then need to be repaired with a repair kit, and working outside is more dangerous during these storms because of the increased radiation. But on the upside, you mine resources much faster, offering a risk-reward situation. You will need to take time and prepare accordingly for these events. Add to this the fact that in each area you will have a limited number of days to stay and do all the necessary objectives to progress to the next area. This is explained by the fact that you are constantly fleeing the reach of the planet's sun while waiting for the rescue team to pick you up. Besides working, you will need to keep an eye out on your alters, improving their mood if necessary, or solve side quests with regards to their issues or wishes. A good way to improve the mood of your alters is to serve them prepared, cooked food instead of serving them mush that requires no raw food, only organics. Serving them slop was one of the first issues the alters brought before me, which I had to solve as soon as possible. Dormitories are also needed to house your alters. The social room module is perhaps the most potent and fun room for improving the mood of your alters. Here you can play beer pong with individual alters, which will improve the mood in a different way depending on whether you lose or win the game. Watching movies is a time-consuming activity. It takes 3 hours to be exact, but it greatly improves the mood of all of your alters at the same time. These movies feature Chris and Jack. Most prominently, there are also others, which I found out after some research is a duo with a YouTube channel that makes comedy sketches. There are 9 of these short movies, one of which is animated in total, 2 of which I have missed. You find these while exploring, by the way. I gotta say, these movies provide a welcome comedic relief in a game that is often dark and stressful, and I love them.
Sit, son. Today, I tell you the history of the universe. The beginning is much like the end. Even though we haven't seen it, we know it's there. Its story was written in the stars all along, but also never before. What? It's some heady stuff, son. Go with me here. First, there was nothing. Then, a great interdimensional being, the one in which we all reside, had a thought. This thought created the spark that started it all. Our existence, a neural pathway forged in a being's mind.
Whoa, we're in the brain of a big monster?
Yup. I mean, monster is a little rude, but from here, everything...
Is there a problem?
If you ignore the bad moods or neglect the needs of your alters, you will get a timed side quest in which you will be informed that the alters have had enough of your BS and you need to improve their mood. If you do not do this in the given time limit, you will get a game over screen as you will be removed from the captain's spot. Another thing that works to the game's favor is strong, distinct characters and an interesting story. A bit about the characters. Aside from your alters, you will have several people that are off-planet who you will communicate with. Lucas Peña, the first character you communicate with, works as a navigator for Allied Corps. He's a bit awkward socially and is a character that is pretty dependent on orders from his superiors, suppressing his opinions that could potentially get him in even the slightest inconvenience or trouble. Over time you will build a rapport with him, getting to know him better, and he might even play an important role towards the end of the game. Terence Maxwell is the head of mining operations of Allied Corp, a corporate man through and through, or so it seems initially, until you discover he might have some drives and ambitions beyond his pay grade. Finally, Lena Berg, your ex, is also an employee of Allied Corp, and after hearing that you were in a predicament on your mission, she establishes contact with you. Needless to say, things can get a bit awkward between the two of you, especially considering your attitude. That is, whether you try to reconcile or move on from her. Then there are your alters, persons in their own right, with distinct personalities. The first alter you create is the technician version, Jan Dolsky. He does not react to the situation he finds himself in very well, which is understandable. He is arrogant, abrasive, and wants nothing to do with the quote-unquote real deal Jan. Later on, I found that he was a solid dude that loves aggressive humor, meaning tons of sarcasm, teasing, and ridicule, while being able to take a joke at his expense too. The scientist alter is pragmatic and scientific to a fault. He loves when he is praised for his intellect and does not appreciate jokes. He is of the opinion that any leisure activities are detrimental to the mission, and our situation and thinks engaging in such activities is just a waste of time. The miner is a workaholic, tough guy that uses work to keep his issues bottled up, and he never complains or confides to others about his issues. He suffered an accident at work and lost an arm. To deal with the pain, he turned to pills and alcohol, later lamenting the fact that he turned into his alcoholic dad and decides to embark on Project Dolly for a new start. There are some very interesting developments ahead regarding the arm he got with his new body and his reaction to having it. That's all I will say. I've just described a bit only these 3 alters, but believe me when I say that there is more to them still, and that all alters have very developed character progressions and even numerous side quests that are specific to them, which I always felt compelled to resolve, provided I had the time and resources to spare. The fact that the characters are unique and well developed, especially your alters, made the game so much more alluring and interesting to me. As far as the story goes, it does its job, and while not extraordinary, it's pretty good, especially for this type of game. The game deals with some interesting subjects, such as finding meaning and identity, questioning whether any one person actually has choices in life, or is it that they don't matter as much as in the end. Dealing with that voice of doubt all people get at times, and realizing that all you can do is try to look forward and deal with future problems the best you can, while recognizing that you did some things right and that in the end you dealt with life's problems better than you think. All of these topics are covered very well in the last act of the game through an interesting section. The dynamic between Jan Dolsky and the people back on Earth is good, and the characters progress constantly. At a certain point in the game you will need to make a big decision regarding a problem your entire crew will face, and some members might resent you for your choices. And depending on how you do after that, your headcount might change back at base. The game also has multiple endings, though I must say that they are depicted only by the epilogue cutscene, being a bit different depending on the ending, but nevertheless multiple endings are always welcome. I was not really happy with all the aspects of the ending I got, but not bad for a first playthrough. To conclude, the story exceeded my expectations for this game. I was surprised at how good this game looks, and though the animations can be a bit stiff, the graphical fidelity is not bad at all. The color palette of the environments is a bit drab, considering that you are always in some desolate wastelands, whether it be an arid wasteland or a landscape covered in sort of black dirt or sand. There are 3 maps in total and they look kind of samey to me. But I must say that the level designs are pretty good, and as you progress you will struggle more to connect mining outposts to the pylon network, needing to come up with some creative pylon placements to establish a connection to your base. I also love the way levels are designed in a way that they often loop into themselves with many shortcuts available, often blocked by rock piles that will require a portable drill with a charge to remove them. When you get into your base, things change a lot looks-wise, meaning to say that the colors are more diverse and vibrant, and I love the attention to detail every module has, with the gym and the social room being my favorite. I often found myself, perhaps a bit foolishly since time always ticks away, standing in my base and noticing the many details that add a ton of personality and immersion to each module you build. Another element worth mentioning and praising is the game's UI. When you are outside exploring, you have all the necessary information about your alters at a glance. In the top left, all alters are displayed along where they are at the moment, including where they work if they started their shift. On the top right, all objectives, main and side ones are displayed. Both these menus are collapsible. The bottom left is reserved for the clock and a tab for various notifications. Middle bottom displays all your available resources, and bottom right is displaying the number of days until the next magnetic storm. There is one design flaw regarding the bar that displays available resources in my opinion. So, say you have 200 of metals available, and beside this number it says plus 20 for example. At first I thought that this means it is the daily or hourly output of these resources provided by your hard-working alters, but no. This means that those plus 20 are metal resources that are already invested into something that is slated to be produced, for example, pylon components at the workshop. In my opinion, this design is counterintuitive. The in-game menu is also informative and easy to navigate, including a useful map that displays pylons and their connections, and the various obstacles scattered throughout the map, whether they be ledges, energy gates, or rock piles. It also shows all available mining outposts and surface and deep deposits. From this menu you can assign alters to various workplaces and tasks, queue up research for your scientist, view what you have in storage, as well as get a comprehensive view of the mood of your alters, with info on their physical state too. For all your needs when you are out of the base, the dependable radial wheel is here. From it, you can access all available buildings, recharge your suit and radiation shields, and quick craft some items outside your base for an increased resource cost, once you research quick crafting. A very well designed UI and informative menus. As far as performance goes, I opted for the performance mode, and I noticed a slight dip in the FPS, only a few times, but a smooth experience nonetheless. I found the music to be really forgettable, except for a cutscene in which the alters composed and performed a fun song.
Growing up apart, we shared surprisingly common ground, feeling nothing more than regret. Till the coin got flipped around. Things never said in quantum state now won't remain unspoken. The clock is unwound, the choice is unsound, could now reopen. If I could take another turn, my life would never be the same. If I could get another chance today. Looking at the path ahead, I simply don't know where it ends, but I'm no longer left all by myself.
And at the end, another song kicked in that really elevated the experience at that time. I wished it stood out more and was more memorable. All the characters in the game are voiced, and special props to Alexander Jordan for voicing all the versions of Jandolski. I felt the voiceover was good overall, though I sometimes felt that the quality of some voiceover lines varies. Sometimes I felt it was a bit subpar, only to hear an emotional line a few moments after delivered greatly, immersing me in the game. So it was pretty good overall, with some lines that dropped the ball a bit. Now it is time for me to mention things that annoyed me and I think marred the experience a bit. First of all, I don't know if I had a bug or this was the case of bad or overlooked game design, or maybe it was just my fault, but at one point I faced an alter rebellion. I played beer pong with all the crew and watched movies. Provided them with cooked food too. After I improved the mood, the quest objective changed to talk to the upset alter. This usually means that I was successful in averting rebellion, and all I have to do is quote-unquote report to the alter who originally complained about the crew's low morale. The thing is, I forgot to do this immediately, so the objective changed to find out what's going on, or something to that effect, and I had 22 hours left to avert rebellion. However, no matter what I did or who I talked to, I could not resolve this quest to save my life, leading to a game over screen and forcing me to reload a save a few days earlier. When I reported to the original quest giver, when the objective said talk to the upset alter, the quest was resolved immediately. This annoyed the hell out of me. Another complaint I have is the alters rather their behavior. At times I felt like I ran a fucking daycare. Sometimes alters fought multiple times a day, even though they were in an okay mood, had cooked food available, and even watched movies with me often. This caused multiple attempts at rebellion, forcing me to play nanny with their asses. One particular case that really irked me was this. Two of my alters were mad at me for some unavoidable story decisions I made. I was approaching the deadline on Act 2, and it came down to the last day. All I needed was for 4 alters to operate some story-specific equipment I made while I go and press a button. You should know that if alters are in a bad mood or angry at you, they are less productive and can leave work early. So, just as I was approaching to press said button and move on to the next act, I realized that one of my alters ended his shift early for being upset with me. Talk about being mature. We even had a conversation beforehand where he said that we should focus on getting out of here first and then try to resolve the issue between us. So, we were all vaporized the day after.
Hey man, I just saved your life. So much for gratitude. Tell you what, let's just focus on clearing the way, and once we're out of this canyon, I hope we can talk it over properly. Yeah, great idea. Let's get down to some anomaly busting. Cool.
I was fucking pissed, let me tell you. I had to figure out an off-the-cuff solution in any way possible, forcing me to replay the last 2 or 3 days of Act 2 until I finally managed to get by the skin of my teeth. I think I have said all I have for this game. In the end, I enjoyed my time with it and I am glad I heard about it. Alright, time to summarize. The game has interesting characters with great character progression, an interesting story, a good gameplay loop taking inspiration from some of my favorite games, but still managing to be a game in its own right. The graphics are pretty good and I love the design of the base, especially inside with detailed modules. The constantly ticking clock created considerable tension and had me on the edge of rage a few times, but I managed to overcome all obstacles of the game decently, and upon reflection the time limit is not too harsh. The combat, while pretty basic, served well to break up the exploring a bit, and getting resources from killing enemies provides some reasons at least to engage them, aside from the necessary removing them from deep deposit areas of various resources. Performance was solid for me 95% of the time. I ended up being attached to my alters and had them at the forefront with every step I made after I got to know them. This combined with the fact that I really got annoyed at them at times for their lack of mental fortitude and their needless bitching, but I still care. Miner, Shrink, Technician, Gardener and Scientist, Alters, wherever you are, I hope you're well, guys. The voice acting is good with some subpar lines seeping in at times, but nothing too detrimental. I wish the music was more memorable though. The ending of the game with multiple provided paths with dealing with problems, that whole section at the end was great and was icing on the cake without spoiling too much. Okay, I think I have said all I have for this game. I gotta say, I enjoyed my time with it and am glad I heard about it and got to experience. I give the Alters a 9 out of 10, an amazing game. And I am looking forward where 11-bit studios will take this game next. We'll be there for whatever they make next, most definitely. Okay guys, that's gonna be it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know down in the comments, do you agree with my rating on the game? And if you played it, what did you think of it? Until next time, see ya.